सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा. We have just finished our puja to Devi Saraswati. So now we will continue our Bhagavad Gita. We're on chapter 6. We'll continue with that frame of thought as an offering to Devi, because she's the goddess of knowledge, goddess of wisdom. We'll read what we covered first, last class. So we'll read from verses 10 to number 12. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi sthitaha ekakiyata chittatma nirashira parigrahaha shuchau deshe pratishtapya sthiramasanamaatmanaha natyuchritam nati nicham शैलाजिनकुशोत्तरम् तत्रैकाग्रं मनः कृत्वा यतचित्तेन्द्रियक्रियः उपविश्यासने युञ्ज्यात् योगमात्मा विशुद्धये. Okay. So we are on the topic of how to practice this meditation. And Bhagavan Krishna gives us very, very practical tips. So in verse number 10, he talked about the place. That the yogi here means the meditator, the dhyayi, the one who's meditating, should constantly keep their minds on that truth, rahasi sthitaha, in a solitary place. In a solitary place, ekaki, and alone, with the mind controlled, nirashihi, free from all hopes, and aparigraha, free from all hoarding. So the idea here in this verse is to have a constant and time and a constant place where we contemplate, where we meditate, so that that vasana is already there. Just like I mentioned to you last week, when you're in the kitchen, automatically we feel like eating, no matter what time of the day it is. So this place, wherever we are in our homes, when we sit there, that should be our place of contemplation, our place of peace. And nothing else should happen there. Just that peaceful vibration should be there. And that will help us meditate. See, in the beginning, we need all of these aids. We need the proper time. We spoke about Brahma Muhurta, right? In the beginning, we need the aid of a proper time, a proper place, a proper situation, because our practice is still not very rooted. But when someone's practice is very rooted, they can meditate anywhere and everywhere, no problem. But because we are still starting, we need all of these exterior things also. In verse number 11, we saw that the place should be very clean, not something that we just leave like that and it doesn't get cleaned, washed and everything. It has to be clean because of course it's a place of Bhagavan. And it talks about the asanam. Now asana means two things. Asana can mean posture or it can mean seat. So in this verse, it refers to the seat. And it says that everybody should have their own asana. And the idea of providing this example of chaila jina kushottaram. Chaila literally means cloth. Ajina means skin, deer skin. Kusha means grass. So first they put the grass, then the skin, then the cloth. Why? To have the proper temperature and so that the asana is not too soft, not too hard. Sometimes if the asana is too soft, then we sink in it. And sometimes if the asana is too hard, then it's very difficult to sit for a long time. And the asana also shouldn't be too high or too low. So have that proper asana in that clean place, at the same place, at the same time. Then in verse number 12, then after establishing oneself in that seat, then he talks about the next. So see, we talked about Ashtanga Yoga, right? So in verse number 10, Yama and Niyama is given there as Nirashihi and Aparigraha. Then Asana is given in verse number 11. Then in verse number 12, Pranayama is given as Yata Kriya. That's Pranayama. Then Yata Indriya is Pratyahara. And Yata Chitta is Dharana. So if you see, the whole Ashtanga Yoga is given there. So literally, yamas and niyamas are these spiritual practices which keep us very, very disciplined. And then asana, of course, as I told you, is that seat. That seat, and also posture. Posture will also come. And pranayama is control of breath. Pratyahara is control of senses. And dharana is when the mind is held on to an alambana, a support. And dhyana, aikagram manah kritva, this indicates dhyana, because now the mind can go and penetrate into that object. So when we do the abhisheka to Goddess Saraswati, the idea is also for us to think about dhyana. So we have to hold it in such a way that it's so steady and so uniform that it's like dhyana. Then sitting, this yogi meditates to purify themselves. And we also talked about how this purification is different. It's not the purification of raga dvesha. It's not getting rid of likes and dislikes. This is getting rid of the notions of I am the body, I am the mind, I am the intellect. It's a subtler kind of purification. So now that that's clear, we move on to verse number 13 today. Samam kaya shiro grivam.
Samam kaya shiro grivam.
Dharayan achalam sthiram.
Dharayan achalam stiraha.
Samprekshya nasikagram swam.
Samprekshya nasikagram swam.
Dishashchanavalokayan.
Dishashchanavalokayan.
Samam kaya shiro grivam. Dharayan achalam sthiraha. Samprekshya nasikagram swam. Dishashchanavalokayan. So that word is sthiraha. I pronounced it as stiram, but it's sthiraha. In the first line, the last word, sthiraha. Now, Sri Krishna is talking about asana as in the way we sit. So before we enter this verse, many people think that you can do walking meditation and dancing meditation and eating meditation and all of that kind of meditation. That is all fine in the beginning stages. But when we're talking about abiding in the knowledge of the self, one has to sit. This is not a walking, dancing, eating kind of thing. This one has to sit. Because this one needs total and complete focus and concentration. So in the last verse, it said upavishyasane, means one has to sit. And how should one sit? Samam kaya shiro grivam. So erect. Samam, the body, head, and neck should be erect. Dharayan achalam stiraha. Holding the body, achalam, still, and stiraha, steady. Samprekshya nasikagram, gazing at the tip of the nose. Swam, one's own nose. Deshascha anavalokayan, and not looking here and there. Let one firmly hold their body, head, and neck erect and still, gazing at the tip of their nose without looking around. So, what does this mean? Just like we have to find our seat, our asana, we also have to find our posture. A posture is defined as sthiram sukham asana, that which is incredibly grounded and still, and sukham means that which is free from pain. So when we get into a car the first time and we are driving, right, we have to kind of switch the seat front and back, up and down, to find our proper seating with the car, right? And even if we get into a plane, also there we have to find our seating posture in the plane. How will we be comfortable for 11, 12 hours flight or 3 hours flight? So when we sit, how will we be comfortable for an hour or an hour and a half or 20 minutes? How will we be comfortable? What is our posture of comfort? And that is different for everybody. Don't think that we have to imitate anybody. We have to find our sukham, our very comfortable posture that's grounded. Not that strained, like we're so strained that we're sitting like this, but straight where the back, the neck, and the head is in one straight line, so that energy is flowing properly, the breathing is happening so beautifully, and the circulation, digestion is happening because there's oxygen, there's a proper flow of oxygen in the body. So we won't feel too many cramps or pains or aches when we sit straight. So lock oneself into a posture. That's what happens when we sit down. Lock oneself into a posture. And once we sit, don't move. Don't move. Take that resolve. Take a sankalpa. I will sit, and for the next 30 minutes, 20 minutes, I will not move. Just take that sankalpa. And whatever happens, whatever itch happens here, itch happens there, don't itch. Whatever thing happens here, thing happens there, don't do it. Let the mind be used to it, that for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I'm just not going to move. That's it. And some people say, I can sit, but my mind goes all over the place. It's okay, because one of the most important things we have to establish as a meditator is asana siddhi, the siddhi of just being able to sit without movement. That's a very important base to have. Many people now cannot sit. So either the leg is moving, the hand is moving, so many things are moving. So first this asana siddhi, establish that posture where we can sit. That's what all the yoga asanas are for. All these yoga asanas, Surya Namaskara, Shirshasana, Sarvangasana, all these different asanas are really for the spine, the development of the spine, so that we are able to sit still in meditation. If we miss this part, this meditative part, then we have missed the thought of yoga, the essence of yoga. Because the essence of all of these yoga postures is to get to this state of meditation. So that asana siddhi is very important. And we have to be conscious of our posture. Are we leaning back? Are we doing this, doing that? We have to be very conscious of how we sit. If we cannot sit on a floor, that's okay. Sit in a seat, but don't lean on the seat. And make that your meditation seat. Nobody else should sit there. Nothing else should happen on that chair. Just that is there. So samam kaya shiro grivam. Kaya means the body, Shira means head, like Shirshasana, Griva means neck. Dharayan achalam, still, and stira, steady. So one sits still and steady, no rocking or going forward or going back. Then he says, Sampreksha nasikagram. Nasikagram literally means tip of the nose and gazing at the tip of the nose. Now, Adi Shankaracharya ji clarifies this in the commentary. This is not to be taken literally. Don't think we have to gaze at the tip of our nose. Because he says if you keep focusing on that, you're not going to focus on Atma. The idea is to just have our point of focus. If our eyes are open, we won't be able to really focus. So when we close our eyes, what is our point of focus? That's why in Gayatri Mantra, when we do, there's a specific point of focus. So that way, Dishascha Navalokaya, we don't go here and there, look here and there. And when I say look here and there, not with our eyes open, but with our eyes closed, we're looking here and there. So we have to have some point of focus. In when we do upasana, let us say upasana, that practice where we invoke a deity, we can do upasana on Saraswati Devi and have her as that point of focus. But in the context of this chapter, the point of focus is that mahavakya, that thought that I am Brahman, I am that self, supreme self. That is the point of focus in this chapter. And so we see how subtle that is, moving from something like a form, something like something so colorful and lively, to just a subtle thought that I am this pure consciousness. So there has to be something to focus on, and the same thing, the thought has to go there again and again and again and again and again. So that's the idea of samprekshya nasika gram swam. And dishascha avalokaya. No need to look here and there. Then what happens after this? What else do we have to cultivate? Is it done? No. Bhagavan Krishna gives subtler instructions now. So here there's a question. Sometimes it is said that the eyes should be half open and half closed. Is that true? Maybe it's because we don't fall asleep as well as not distracted by the objects of the world. So it is true that sometimes they say even Bhagavan Shiva's, eyes half open, half closed. It depends on your comfort. So if one feels like they can keep their eyes half open, half closed, that is fine. But the idea to give that midway also is because sometimes we close our eyes like this, and there's a lot of force and stress. Like sometimes we hold our mudra like this. It's a lot of force and stress. So to make the point that it should not be a stressful thing. It says half open, half closed. So gently touch the eyelids together. No stress or strain whatsoever. The minute that I'm stressing and straining, that's not meditation. So that is the idea between the half open and half closed. Okay. I know we don't have question answer after. So if you have questions specific to what I'm speaking to, you can please tell me on chat and we can address that if it's specific to this only. Okay. Now, Bhagavan Krishna becomes a little subtler in his instructions. Now, we've covered the place, time, the asana, everything. Now, how should our mind be? Verse number 40. Prashantatma vigatabhihi.
Prashantatma vigadabhihi.
Brahmachari vrate stitaha.
Brahmachari vrate stitaha.
Manas samyamya machittaha.
Manas samyamya machittaha.
Yukta asita matparaha.
Yukta asita matparaha.
प्रशान्तात्मा विगतभिः ब्रह्मचारी व्रते स्थितः मनः संयम्य मच्चित्तः युक्त आसीत मत्परः. So prashantatma. This is again, atma here means mind. Huh? And Shanti, is peaceful mind. Prashantatma, very serene mind. Vigata bhihi. Vigata means it has left. What has left? Fear. Bhi. Vigata bhihi. Brahmachari vrate stitaha. One who is stita, firm in what? In the vow, vrata of brahmacharya. Mana samyamya, having controlled the mind. Machittaha, thinking of me. Yukta asita, let that person sit balanced. Matparaha, with me as the supreme goal. Serene-minded, fearless, firm in the vow of brahmacharya, having controlled the mind, meditating, thinking on me and balanced, let them sit having me as the supreme goal. So what happens when we sit? This is very famous of Gurudev's self-unfoldment, regrets of the past and anxieties of the future. Prashantatma is to say that the mind should be peaceful in the sense that all of my transactions have gone peacefully. I've lived a dharmic life, so I'm not regretting. I'm not feeling these regrets of the past. The past is not pining me. That's the only way that my mind can be serene, still. And at that seat, I offer, if there are still regrets or things that are pining me, disturbing me, I offer that to Bhagavad or Bhagavati in the beginning. Huh? That's why in the beginning, it's so important to invoke Guru and Bhagavad. Because if there's still some unsettled issues here, we cannot meditate for sure. So offer to their feet whatever is there, preventing the mind from being prashanta. So prashantatma is to say, no regrets of the past, nothing bothering us, nothing disturbing us. And if there are, offer that to the feet of the divine. Now, here, Vigata bhihi. Vigata bhihi means no fear of the future. If we have all kinds of worries, guess what we will sit and do? We will meditate on all of the, what if this happens? What if that happens? Our whole meditation will only be that and that alone. So free from any anxiety, free from any worry. Sometimes we're afraid, what will happen to this person? What will happen to that person? How will I be like? What will my life be like? There are these kinds of fears, these kinds of anxiety. Subtler than that, there's also the anxiety that what if I go too much in that I lose myself? Or then that will prevent us from going with it. Huh? So we must have sufficient time, sufficient environment so that if we go in, we go in. If you don't come out, very good. The world will be a better place without you and me. Don't worry. Everybody will be happy. So not even this fear that if I go too inward, what will happen to the world? What will happen to everybody? Even that fear shouldn't be there. That's why it is said, give ourselves enough time. Because what tends to happen, if we have less time, we go inward, and we feel like, I have to come out now. I should come out now. Because if I don't come out now, this will happen and that will happen. But that is fear. So with fear, we can't sit quietly. So with regrets, we can't sit quietly. With fear, anxiety of the future, we can't sit quietly. So offer these to Bhagavan. Yoga kshemam vahamyaham. Remember, Bhagavan will take care of everything. of everything. Today I wanted to do Saraswati Puja. And so I was thinking, now I don't have the photo of Saraswati Devi. How will I do puja? And this was yesterday or the day before. Then yesterday, because we had to do Saraswati Puja in Westchester Bal Vihar, somebody dropped this off to my apartment. They came and they brought this. They said, this is for Saraswati Puja. Then I wanted all the 108 names printed, but I didn't have it printed. It was in my computer. Then today, Lakshmi ji and Jatin ji came to drop something off, and they gave me the book, all 108 names. Now just see, Saraswati Devi herself came. I just had this thing in my heart that I want to do puja to her. I wanted to be here. I just had this thing. I didn't know what to do, but she herself came. She herself said, now you please worship me. So we should never ever worry. Because if we're really seeking God, then God will come. God will just come. We don't even have to think about it. So no fear. Now, brahmachari vrata. Now here, this is an important point. So I will speak of brahmacharya in two contexts, okay? One for a single person and one for a married person. The deeper meaning of brahmacharya first is brahmani charitum, means to walk in Brahman. So brahmani, in Brahman, charitum, to walk. To walk in Brahman means to be in constant companion of this knowledge, this wisdom. Gurudev very beautifully in this commentary, he says, this word gives the instruction and the prescription. I'll explain what that means after I go through it. So, deepest meaning is to walk in Brahman, to revel in Brahman, meaning in the knowledge of Brahman. For a single person and a married person, it means now to refrain from these things. So for a single person, no lustful thoughts, no lustful words, no lustful deeds, no sign of lust. That is to keep brahmacharya. In Swami Shivanandaji's writings, he speaks a lot about brahmacharya, and he says for a monk or somebody who's single, these are 8 things they must avoid. And for somebody who is married, these are 8 things they must avoid with another person of the, another person of who they may be attracted to or whatever. They are to completely avoid this. Okay. First is darshana. Darshana means not to look at anybody with a passionate resolve. So for a single person, not to look at anybody with that kind of passion. For a married person, not to look at anybody else with that kind of passion. So not anybody else. Darshan. Second is sparshana. Not to have any lustful contact with a person, another person. So not to have that kind of contact. Third one is keli. Keli, not to be too playful with another person. In that lusty way. Just keep this in mind throughout, in that mindset. Then kirtana, here again, not to praise the other person in a lustful manner. So not to say any such compliments that will spark this type of lust. This has to be avoided. Fourth. The fifth thing is guhya bhashanam. Guhya bhashanam means not to have this kind of intimate conversation, intimate conversation with another person in that way. Guhya bhashanam literally means secret speech, talking in private, not to have such intimate conversation. Then sankalpa, not to have that mental resolve to meet or be with that person in that way, with that view of lust. Then adhyavasaya, not going near that person with that view of lust. Then kriyanivritti, not again here, not to engage in obviously in that physical contact with that person. Not in that intercourse, in contact with that other person. So for a person who is single, or a person who is a monk or a brahmacharya, they are not supposed to indulge in that at all. For a grahastha, not to indulge in that with another person. And at the same time, with their spouse, live a life of moderation. Because remember, the vision of our scriptures is the realization of the self. And there are two ways to realize it. We have seen this, two ways to realize it. Either one takes the path of pravritti or one takes the path of nivritti. Pravritti literally means to engage through karma yoga, to take the path of karma yoga, to get married, to live a householder's life, to go through it, but in moderation and always keeping this as a goal. That's completely accepted in Sanatana Dharma, because it is better to go through it rather than doubt it. Should I have gone through it? So if there is a doubt, go through it, grow through it, and go beyond it. So if there's a doubt, go through it, grow through it, go beyond it. And then you'll be convinced. Right? After you go through it, you grow through it, then one is convinced, okay, now I want something higher. The path of nivritti is for the ones who have no doubt. I have no doubt that this is not what I want. This is not what I want, and I want something higher. I don't need to go through it. This is the path of nivritti. This is also fine. Now I don't need to go through it, and I'm sure I don't need to go through it. Then they should take the path of nivritti. So either way, whichever way, one will reach the supreme. But one has to be completely honest with themselves. And both, whether single or married, have to practice brahmacharya in this way. Because when there are too many thoughts of lust, one will not be able to sit down and meditate. That is for sure. For sure. So this is a very deep practice. As we saw before, this is very subtle and deep. This is not something that's so easy to do. So it requires this kind of mind. And that when one practices brahmacharya, means for a single person celibacy, for a married person moderation, when a person practices brahmacharya, their energy is conserved. Their energy is conserved and can be applied to much greater and much more wonderful things. What happens is the creative energy comes out, and they're able to give, they're able to serve, they're able to do so much more, because the creative energy, all that energy that is preserved, it comes out as a form of yajna, as a form of service. And that keeps their mind also very peaceful and calm. So this is what it means, brahmachari vrate stitaha. So somebody also asked this question, how is the virtue of brahmacharya extolled here? So brahmachari vrate stita. And in marriage life also, the idea is as the husband and wife grow, they become, they mature into spiritual partners. That after a certain stage, the relationship changes, then they become spiritual partners, what we call sahadharmachari. Sahadharmachari means my partner on the path of dharma, and they're able to support each other. And this takes precedence over all of those physical attractions that they've had before. Their spiritual love and companionship, that takes precedence. And the relationship actually becomes much more beautiful and deeper. So that marriage, that relationship has to evolve into that. Now, manasamyamya. Manasamyamya. Okay, before I go here, Adi Shankaracharya ji also says that brahmachari vrat also includes guru seva, eating food like bhiksha. Yes, that is correct. He brings that up in the commentary. So for those who are single, sannyasi, monks, brahmacharis, that includes guru seva and eating food like bhiksha, and that food also will come in the next verse, so I will talk more about it. But yes, and then for a grahastha, what does that look like? That is also serving the guru parampara. And grahasthas don't live on bhiksha, should not live on bhiksha, because they provide bhiksha. So they should not live on bhiksha, but they should be simple in their food. See, now this, only the person who can control their tongue can control their lust. This is very clear in our Shastra. The person who can control their tongue can control their lust. And so that's why they're very strict about food. In particular, when, when someone takes brahmacharya or whatever comes, eat that. There can be no like, want this or want that or want this or want that, because the idea is to curtail the tongue. And if the tongue is curtailed, then the rest of the sense organs, rest of the organs of action become quite natural. But if the tongue is not curtailed, it's very difficult. So for a grahastha, for a married couple, what is this brahmacharya when it comes to food? It means to be simple and accept whatever is there. Be simple. Of course, sometimes you have to make and everything for your home. That and all is fine. You cook, you make to different people's likes and according to the home. That's fine. But whenever we're in a place that is, we can't get what we like, then adjust and accept. But the idea is to simplify. Right. Now I'll just maybe just touch upon manasamyamya, then we can see the rest of the words next time. Manasamyamya, there was a question here also. The point of performing a puja or ritual is to develop single-pointed focus, right? Correct. So this manasamyamya means having control of the mind. So now with prashant atma, no regrets, they're taken aside. Vigata bhi, no fear or anxiety. Living a life of brahmacharya, whether one is single, one is grahastha, living a life of brahmacharya, and having control the mind. And the question is the question, the answer is in the question itself. We do puja to develop this focus and control of the mind. As I said here in this chapter, the meditation, the object of meditation is so subtle, because it's literally brahmacharya vritti, the thought that I am Brahman. It's so subtle that before we even get to that, puja, something like this. These rituals are so necessary to train the mind to stay and hold on to a thought. When was the last time we were completely present and our minds and bodies were in the same place at the same time? When was the last time we were completely present? Do we remember? It's tough, right? That is why puja. That is why puja. Hmm? I will stop here because the next two words are so beautiful and that they deserve their own space and time. So I'll elaborate on that next time. But for today, please reflect a little bit more on living a life of brahmacharya, wherever we are, whatever path we are, because that will be so helpful as we become more serious in the path of self-realization. Okay? We will say the closing prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyati. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.